This is Geek News Central. My name is Todd Cochran, coming to you from the new media production studio. The lead stories are tonight, $4.2 billion, yes, $4.2 billion US dollars for each SLS launch. Russia has decided they're not going to leave Americans at the International Space Station. Russia bans Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And my response is, boo-hoo. Discovery plans some consolidation after the Time Warner merger. I want to welcome you to episode 1592 of the Geek News Central podcast for Monday, March 14th. This show is sponsored in part by GoDaddy.com and listeners just like you. Great deals from GoDaddy can be found at geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy. You can support this show today at geeknewscentral.com/insider. We want to give a warm welcome to all our new listeners of the show. Make sure you get over to subscribe or follow the podcast at geeknewscentral.com. While you're on the website, make sure you sign up for our newsletter as well. That way you can get all the show notes delivered directly to your inbox immediately following the show. Of course, check out all the great content on the website as well. You can join our chat room at geeknews.chat. That's a Mastodon chat server, or we'll have a Discord channel as well. You can always contact me via email, geeknews@gmail.com, geeknews@gmail.com, or on Twitter at geeknews. You can always follow me on Facebook just by searching for my name, Todd Cochran, or Geek News Central on Facebook. Partner shows, they're all linked at geeknewscentral.com, include the new media show, which I co-host with Rob Greenlee, the Pro Gear Guru site, which is written by my writing team, the Gadget Professor by the Mr. Don Bain. We've got Podcast Legends, which is an extinct show, and GNC Week in Review with Kirk and Scott. And of course, Kirk is our executive producer here at the show, and we want to thank him for doing the show prep today and getting things ready to go. Of course, this show is sponsored by the longest-running continuous sponsor of a podcast. That's our good friends at GoDaddy. You can save large amounts of cash for your online presence by using my promo codes. All you got to do is go over to geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy. When you're over there, lock in your savings, whether it be a 30% off new product purchase, whether it be a $4.99.com for newer transfer domains for new customers only, or the best deal in podcasting, $1.99 a month economy hosting. This is the best deal. Best hosting deal available, $1.99 a month economy hosting for the first year of the free domain, or $2.99 a month managed WordPress hosting for the first year, again with a free domain. Check those all out. For those of you who have a business or looking to do maybe something e-commerce, maybe you just want to go really the easy way and use a free trial of GoDaddy Website Builder. You don't have to have any skills whatsoever. Your choice of personal business to business plus plans, that's a 1-month free trial. All of those codes are linked at geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy. Geek News Central listeners save an average of 94% per purchase on GoDaddy hosting accounts and an average of $3.50 on each GoDaddy domain name. All these codes work. We want you to lock it in. All you got to do is go and use the code at checkout, or just click on the link on the website at geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy. That gets you locked in for savings. That way you never, ever have to worry about not saving money. It's going to happen automatically. So, hello, everyone, and apologize. No show on Thursday. Monday, when I did the show a week ago Monday, I was already not feeling great. I really wasn't. Started Sunday, and then Monday, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, things just kind of went downhill. And by Thursday at 5 o'clock, I had just kind of hit the wall. And I decided not to do a show on Thursday. By Saturday morning or so, I was kind of back in the game 100%. But this weekend was spent doing finances, working on tax stuff, getting ready for our Blueberry announcement, which we basically released this evening. And I'll talk a little bit about that. I don't talk about Blueberry very much on the show, but we've relaunched the website. And I guess relaunch the website and a whole bunch of other things. As a matter of fact, one of the graphics is not working on the website right now, which I don't know why. But we restacked everything, did some rearrangement, but it's part of a 2-year walk to really get to the point where we are at a point where our dashboard, our onboarding, our stats, all this stuff was rebuilt from the ground up. And the site design now is quite remarkable. It's very user friendly. We spent a huge amount of time focused on making it easy for people to use the site, and really more importantly is just manage it, get in there and create content and provide tools for promotion, growth, and analysis. So really the job, the team that has the work that has went into this over the past 2 years has been monumental. And we provide podcasters a free WordPress site. We give them a landing page. We've got pro hosting. We got ad insertion. We've just got it in our new analytics dashboard that we launched is just super, super incredible, along with our PowerPress plugin, which we're well known for, our private podcasting and our pro production services. We've got a manual partners. It just goes on and on and on. But we announced last week some new plans, allowing people to have more storage on their accounts. But really, it boils down to dashboard, statistics, onboarding, our advanced plans. We consolidated stuff, our pro hosting, we automated sign up. We did some stuff with audience survey. We did a reorganization, redesign, and consolidation. So just a huge, huge amount of work by my entire team. And what it really is, it's the start of the next phase. This is kind of a place where we've said, okay, this is where we're going to drop. This is where we're going to essentially at this point going to make sure that we deliver everything that we promised to deliver, with an absolute, laser focus on helping content creators publish their shows, analyze their content, and grow. That's the key, along with some other key strategies that we're going to be really working at. And so thus far, it's been a crazy ride, but we needed to do this complete rebuild and restack of our entire platform, because it's just kind of frank, it was just getting long in the tooth. The back end was, it needed major help. So we spent a considerable amount of time working with a UI UX designer, our graphics designer internally. We hired a gal out in Utah that did much of the design work, and many long meetings. It was just a huge undertaking, and we took the time during COVID and up to this point to essentially retool. And it takes, if you think about it, we've been in business 16 years, and 14 years of stuff stacked up into a system that we rebuilt from the UX standpoint over the past 2 years. You'd say, oh, you can do that a lot faster. Well, it just takes time. And but what I'm excited about now is we've got everything broken down into bite-sized pieces of new features, new things we're going to do. And we'll probably have a couple announcements every month almost through this entire year of new stuff that we're adding to our platform. So this is an exciting time to consider becoming a podcaster and podcasting over at my company. And you'll find a link to get a free trial at Blueberry right from the Geek News Central website. So consider it. But this is a big day for us. A really big day. And it's kind of like it's like we had this long development list of things we needed to accomplish before we kind of had this line. Here was the minimum things we needed to do to establish this relaunch. And it's not really a relaunch, but it's a culmination of everything that we've done. And even the tagline, publish, analyze, grow. We had done a bunch of work earlier in the year, last year, to make sure we knew who our customers were, do user personas, just this a pile of studying and then getting feedback to fully understand what podcasters need and what they desire to have help with. And this publish, analyze, grow term, you think it sounds pretty simple, right? But it was one of those things that my team took a long time really refining and then coming up with messages for each of those terms, along with some subset of words that we're going to be talking about as well. Monetize, inspiring, succeed. Really, that's going to be a focus. So if you wonder why I've been so tired, and it's not going to get any easier, is we've just been head down, really focused and marching towards this day. And I hope that those that are in the podcasting space will have a compelling reason to move to us. Our new stats offering alone is, no one's got some of the stuff we've got. And we're going to continue to march it ahead. But anyway, that's just what's been happening with me. And you're like, okay, all right, let's get into the tech stuff. And yes, I have a whole pile of stuff to go over today. And again, big thank you to my team for getting us to this point and everything that goes along with it. But yeah, I think that it doesn't look like a lot, but when you go into the dashboard and you see all the things that we've done and modified and made easy, and on the surface it looks like, oh, that's cool, seamless. But yeah, one-stop shop for everybody. Okay, let's go ahead and get into the tech content. I got a great stack of stuff for a great job by Kirk getting the show ready tonight. Amazing story and matter of fact, if you're watching on Facebook or you're on YouTube or you're on Twitter or Twitch or wherever you may be, make sure you say hello in the chat. We want to hear from you for sure. But let's just talk a little bit about the Space Launch System. According to a U.S. auditor, each launch on the Space Launch System will cost an unsustainable $4.1 billion per launch. That's over double the original expected launch cost. Of course, it's a government program, and it's going to come in at a whopping $58,000 per kilogram launched to low Earth orbit. If the expected payloads are to be believed, SLS would potentially be the biggest launch system ever created, or if it leaves the ground. Therefore, it would have the unique ability to launch single payloads that have never been possible before. So where's this all went wrong, and why has the price gotten so high? Well, when they retired the space shuttle and lacking a system to put its own astronauts into orbit, NASA had reached out to its commercial partners to help design with design and construction. Budget initially at $7 billion, the project has ballooned to $23 billion. In fact, the additional delay right before the congressional hearings pushed a critical test milestone back another 2 months. And NASA administrators have even preemptively cautioned that the updated day may have to be slid. So when you have Lockheed Martin, Boeing, and others attached to the American taxpayer dollar cash pipeline, the price just gets blown out of proportions. And if you look at government-run programs, and I know a lot about this, and I've always said this, when you are got a statement of work and you have a bid that comes in, Usually for government programs, there's about 10%. Let's say it's $1 million. There's $100,000 laid off the side for stuff that's called over and above. And anytime, and that contractor's job, whoever got that contract, is his job to spend that over and above money. But to go from $7 billion to $23 billion is a gross mismanagement of the budget. That's not 100 million offset or 700 million offset. That's billions of dollars of offset. And I know it costs a lot to go to space, but we're at a point now where why? You look at what SpaceX is doing, Blue Origin, all these other commercial launch operators. And of course, you know, what SpaceX is doing is they're looking for their moonshot with their mega spacecraft that they want to launch. But it's amazing what Orion and SLS are going to cost. And I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. We hope. And by the way, this is reusing solid rocket boosters from the Space Shuttle program, which they still own and have only had to modify slightly to use in this system. So time will tell what happens here with the SLS and whether or not we actually have launches that take us to where we want to be. All right, so going to move on from that. Russia says it will not strand American astronaut in space despite media reports. Now, Mark Vande High is still coming home on a Russian capsule on March 30th. Now, he's been on the ISS since April 21, and he launched on a Russian Soyuz rocket from Kazakhstan. And so he's slated to return home in another Soyuz capsule on March 30th. But here's the thing. You know, now our major transport is, at this point, SpaceX to get to the International Space Station. So we don't have to worry about anybody's up there. And I'm sure if they needed to get home, they would have just slapped another seat in a SpaceX and got him home. But it is an interesting dilemma when you have a conflict going on like it is, and your ride might leave you because of political constraints. But Russia says they're not going to do that. They're going to bring him home, as they should. And time will tell on how all this works out with the International Space Station. Maybe the Russians will go lock themselves into their section, and everyone else can ignore them. But we'll see. And of course, it's been announced Russia bans Instagram as promised, blocking access for 80 million users. This move follows Facebook and Twitter. So, the country announced the plans to ban Instagram last week in response to a parent company made its decision to allow Facebook and Instagram users in some countries to call for violence against Russian soldiers, except you can't do that in Ukraine. Russia has been steadily restricting access to online platforms in an effort to control the flow of info. Yes, they don't want anything getting in that is going to cause their people to want to revolt and overthrow the dictator they have running their country. So, to me, it's a boo-hoo. Tough. If you're going to, tough. I don't, the Russian people need to figure this out. So, time will tell how this all shakes out. How long do you think that Instagram, Facebook, and so forth will be banned there? Is this all show and tell, or will this be long-term impacting? What do you think? I'd love to hear from you, geeknews@gmail.com. Send me an email on your thoughts on what do you think? Will this be a long-lasting ban of the Russians and having them isolated again? We'll see. Discovery will combine HBO Max and Discovery Plus following the Time Warner merger. The unified platform will launch sometime after the $43 billion deal closes. And I don't think this comes as any surprise. They say one of the important items here is what we believe in a combined product as opposed to a bundle. We believe that the breadth of depth of this content offering is going to be phenomenal consumer value proposition. Well, Discovery Plus and HBO Max currently start at $5 and $10 per month, with both platforms offering more expensive ad-free tiers. So we'll see where this goes. What I'd like to do, is be able to a la carte my way through these offerings as well. But they're going to bundle it all up, and we're going to pay just like we paid with cable TV for years. Lyft is going to add temporary fuel surcharge to fares amid spike in gas prices. So they're going to add about 45 to 55 cents on each Uber trip, depending on the Uber's rider's location. Uber says the entirety of the surcharge will go to drivers. So 45 cents to 55 cents. I guess it depends on how far you're going to drive. So, I'm going to be going to Los Angeles next week, and I'll be taking Uber or Lyft from the airport over to downtown LA. And that's usually about a $30 ride one way, probably 20 miles. So it seems like the surcharge is a little bit light. I know that you don't want to hear that, but with the cost of gas, it's got to be impacting these drivers. But the fares have also been way up as well. I don't follow this individual very much, but there's a Ted Lasso takes home Best Comedy Series at the Critics' Choice Awards. So I didn't even know it was going on. I've never watched this show that he has been involved in. The fish out of water sitcom Ted Lasso took home 4 major awards. And a night that was dominated by the streaming platforms, the Apple TV original NAB Best Comedy Series, beating out other critically acclaimed favorites like HBO's Max Hacks and Hulu's Only Murders in the Building. So I just am not watching this stuff. I'm watching YouTube. Half these people that are getting awards, I have no clue. When people say actors or actresses' names, I'm kind of like, huh? Let's think about this here. A driver in Uber's self-driving car death goes on trial, says she feels betrayed. The name Rafaela Vasquez may not be recognizable, but the accident that ties her to the first ever fatal self-driving car crash will be. She was a driver of one of Uber's autonomous test cars that crashed into a woman walking her bike across the road at night in March of 2018. Now, nearly 3 years later, she's due to go on trial for negligent homicide. She says, I feel betrayed in a way, she told Wired. At first, everyone was all on my side, even the chief of police. Now it's the opposite. It was literally one day I'm fine, the next day I'm a villain. It's isolating. Meanwhile, Uber has escaped any criminal liability while she's being sued by prosecutors in Arizona. The blame has been pinned squarely on her because when videos of her showed she was distracted before the collision, her defense team will argue she was checking Slack messages from Uber in her work phone at the time, whilst prosecutors will say she was watching an episode of the reality show The Voice on her personal handset. So now if that's the case, and you're driving a self-driving test vehicle, and you're not paying attention to your phone, it's high-risk driving, and you're on, if she was actually on her phone watching The Voice, that's going to be something. That's going to be, she's going to go to jail for a long time. Over at MacRumors.com, there's a report highlights how top Apple executives disagreed over how far iOS anti-tracking measures should go. This report has highlighted how 3 top prominent executives initially found themselves at odds in early deliberations about Apple's app tracking transparency framework. According to the report, the executives disagreed over how far Apple should go, included Apple's Craig Federhigh, who oversees software engineering, Phil Schiller, who manages the App Store, and Eddie Q, Apple's head of services. And from a technical standpoint, this is where they're just basically hiding our information and not letting apps track us. And but apparently the Schiller was concerned over how the framework like AT&T, when they hid their identifiers, could impact the App Store ecosystem. Because AT&T was involved in hiding their IDFAs. That's the ID of your phone. So interesting that maybe Tim Cook got a little pushback internally, but so it appears that some of the Apple folks weren't as privacy prone as one would think, but makes you go just a little bit of a because isn't privacy first supposed to have been Apple's mantra? From 9 to 5 Mac, Twitter no longer lets users access the chronological timeline by default. They were heavily criticized when it switched from the chronological timeline to the new feed that shows suggested tweets instead. The social network then created an option so that users could see recent tweets by default, but this is no longer the case. A new Twitter update no longer lets users access the chronological timeline by default. Following multiple complaints, Twitter has decided to roll back the update. According to the company, the latest Tweets tab has been removed from the iPhone app, and users will get the old Home tab back with the option to show the latest tweet at the top in chronological order. So this is where people complain heavily, and they said, we made a mistake. So while you can still see tweets in chronological order, you can't access them by default since the Home tab will always appear first. A Twitter spokesperson confirmed the change, although they suggested the social network may change this again. And so Instagram's been testing the same thing as well. So how many of you spend much time on Twitter looking at the feed ongoing? Reportedly, Ukraine is reportedly using Clearview's AI facial recognition tech. The company said the controversial system could be employed at checkpoints to identify the dead. Wow. It's also using it to identify Russian soldiers. The company offered Ukraine Defense Ministry free access to its system following the invasion by Russia. According to the report, Clearview suggests Ukraine could use the tech to reunite refugees with family members, fight misinformation, assess at checkpoints, whether it's if someone is a person of interest, identify dead bodies. It's not exactly clear what Ukraine is using the system for, while noting it shouldn't be used as the sole means of identification. Here in Clearview, advisor Lee Wolski claimed other Ukrainian government agencies plan to start using the tech over the coming days. They have access to 2 billion photos from VK on Take, the Russian social media service, and more than 10 billion images overall in its databases. So it's got pictures of the Russians. So if a Russian soldier shows up and they use facial recognition to say, hey, you're trying to sneak through the wire here as a bad guy. We need to talk to you. Ukraine's President Zelensky to address the United States Congress virtually on March 16th. Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer announced the Ukrainian president's address in a letter to Congress. He will address the members on Wednesday, March 18th at 9 a.m. Eastern. His virtual speech will only be open in person to members of Congress at an auditorium inside the Capitol Visitor Center, but a live stream available for the public to watch. So we'll see what choice words he has. Hopefully he takes these folks to task. Relive SpaceX greatest hits with this nostalgic 20th anniversary video. From starships to rocket landings to a Tesla in space, SpaceX is looking back at 2 decades of accomplishments. It's already been 20 years. And 20 years. That's amazing. So it's a great video. And definitely give it a check out. Link will be up in the show notes, of course. Facebook users in Ukraine are in fact banned from Facebook users in Ukraine are in fact banned from calling for Putin's, how should we say it? So they're not allowed to say that on Facebook. Meta may be walking back a temporary exemption that lets Facebook users in Ukraine call for for Russian's dictator Putin's death. Reuters claims to have seen an internal post from Meta indicating the company was narrowing its moderation to make clear it wouldn't allow calls for the death of any head of state. While Meta didn't appear to have changed its mind on Russian soldiers, the firm also wanted to make it explicitly clear that hate speech and threats against the general Russian population were also forbidden. So, Google has shut down YouTube Vanced, a popular ad-blocking Android app. YouTube Vanced was a mod of the official YouTube Android app, and now it's dead. They're gone. It was created in 2017. The developers have decompiled Google's official YouTube app, added additional features, and distributed the resulting code. Did they get sued? How did this happen? It was online for 5 years. Google tends to leave the Android modding community alone, but profiting off your legally dubious mod is sure to bring out the lawyers. So that is probably what happened. Former Nintendo America president left GameStop's board because leadership refused to explain how they would turn the company around. Well, they got a bunch of cash from that run on stock. And he says there's not been an articulated strategy. Leadership says we don't want to articulate our strategy because they don't want it to be stolen. To me, that's not acceptable. You won't find us talking a big game, making a bunch of lofty promises, or telegraphing our strategy to the competition, Cohen told investors in June of 2021. We know some people want us to lay out a whole detailed plan today, but that's not going to happen. So he stepped down from their board of directors. A little bit of science news here that I'm not going to go into, but the title of this article is Black Hole Billiards May Explain Strange Aspect of a 2019 Black Hole Merger. Simulations consistent with large masses, eccentric orbits, tilted spin axis of GW190521. Link will be up in the show notes if you want all the scientific details of what they think happened when these two black holes merged and become an object that could actually be seen and detected. The first ever black hole to be in the way it was, or was. That's kind of dumb. You know, Elon Musk, sometimes Elon Musk has challenged Putin to single combat over Ukraine. Yes. He says, let's go, buddy. Let's go mano a mano, and let's go out and we'll duke it out. And so this is an absurd challenge. He tweeted while he was challenging Putin to single combat, adding stakes for Ukraine. Musk, of course, sent Starlink systems to help Ukraine, and SpaceX recently sparred with Russia. Tesla and SpaceX Elon Musk said that he was challenging the Russian president to single combat. He said, I hereby challenge Vladimir Putin to single combat. Stakes are Ukraine. So it's kind of interesting. All right. So, you know, one thing you can't say about Putin, I think he's a pretty tough guy. You know, I think from a physical standpoint, he's pretty tough. So Elon may have his hands full with him regardless. Engadget has a more fun topic: the best budget robot vacuums you can buy. So a good list of them. One is called the Shark. Of course, they got the iRobot Roomba, $694, $270. I still like iRobots a lot. There's a Shark Ion for $250. You've got the Anchor Oofy RoboVax for $230. So if you're looking for a robot, and here's the deal. If you have shag carpet, and I don't know if anybody, that's like a 70s thing, but if you have shag carpet, you don't want a Roomba. But if you've got the short thread type of carpet, your robot will do okay. And of course, if you have no carpeted floors, even better. Wi-Fi 6E unaffected by chip shortages, claims Wi-Fi allowance. Move along, people. Nothing to see here. Go home. And we've been talking about this quite a bit on the show. So they say no problem for Wi-Fi 6E. We'll see. This is kind of makes me go, I wrote an article on Facebook last week talking about how energy costs in Hawaii are going up 20%. The cost of fuel, and of course in Hawaii they use a light sweet crude mostly from Venezuela to power their electric generators. And of course we've got nuclear powered submarines at Pearl Harbor, and the Hawaiian people do not want nuclear power for us, at all. They want renewables. And while Hawaii is invested heavily, heavily, heavily in renewables, they still need oil-driven generators to deliver the majority of the power to the community. So because they're on oil, and oil being up, 20% increase. Boom, just like that. Now, how much is your energy cost going up? So I keep saying, why do we keep ignoring nuclear? Why? We're idiots for ignoring nuclear power. Smashing atoms is a thing, right? It's we know how to do that. It takes 20 years to build a nuclear power plant, so we're kind of screwed regardless, even if they approve 10 today, right? But they're not going to. They want to do everything on renewables. So I hate to tell you this. There's not enough renewables to power this country, especially when we're adding electric vehicles to the mix, because there's not even enough power in some of the local grids in my community to be able to have people power or charge their vehicles. There's even discussions now about how Tesla charging stations are being throttled during peak energy time because they're taking too much power from the grid. So they've had to throttle those chargers. So Congress has earmarked cash for fusion energy development. The OFES is getting a record $713 million, while the partnership program gets its first ever cash infusion of $345 million. Fusion. UK-based Tomahawk Energy was in the news this week, showing how the fusion future may play out. The company taking the tokamak approach to nuclear fusion. And a recent report, it was the first privately funded sphere to reach 100 million degrees Celsius. It said while it didn't do anything that the government-funded projects haven't done before, it did it privately in just 5 years for less than $70 million with a smaller device. So fusion, if they ever can figure fusion out, great. But we need power now, not in 20 years. Well, I guess it's one half dozen the other, right? How long have they been working on fusion? Forever. Is it a potential? Will American public even allow it if they ever figure it out? I don't know. A little more techie here. Smartwatch market grows 24% year on year in 2021, records highest ever quarterly shipments in Q4. So the global top 9 smartwatch brands are Apple, Huawei, Samsung, Emo, Fitbit, Amazon Fit, Garmin, and Fossil. But again, with Apple coming in at 30%, Samsung's in the play now, 10.2. I said that. Huawei 7.7, 5.2% for Emo. Amazon Fit 5.1, Garmin 4.6, Fitbit 3.8, Noise 2.6, and a symbol I'm not familiar with. So what is that? Izomi came in at 3.6. So what kind of smartwatch do you have? Saturday Night Live star Pete Davidson will be on Blue Origin's next spaceflight. New Shepard's 4th crew launch is set for March 23rd. So looks like he ponied up the cash, and he's going to have a ride to space. It's going to last just a couple of minutes. Apple has released iOS 15.4 with a mask-friendly Face ID unlock. The company has also released iPad OS 15.4. This anticipated update adds a handful of features many iPhone users have been waiting to try since the company first began testing them back in January. Of course, the most notable is unlock your device while wearing a mask. So that was a pain all the time we were masked up. Now nobody's masked up. So, well, I guess airplanes. So we'll see. Also, Mac OS 12.3 arrives with universal control and spatial audio features. Dozens of more emojis, including a melty face and disc ball, are also available. So, also new is a less gendered voice option for Siri, more filters for the podcast apps, optional notes for saved passwords, and Apple claims more accurate battery capacity readings. So there you go, along with the Mac announcements last week at their event. This is kind of a shot across the ball. Meta is not an innovative company, and its vision for the metaverse probably won't succeed, former top Nintendo executive says. Wow. So he says Meta is not an innovative company. Reggie Fils-Aime, the former CEO of Nintendo, told Bloomberg that Meta has either acquired really interesting things or been a fast follower of other people's ideas, and that small innovative companies more likely to be the future of the metaverse. Of course, the word metaverse refers to a version of the internet that's accessed via immersive technology such as virtual reality and augmented reality headsets. It's the new focus of Zuckerberg, who rebranded Facebook as Meta in 2021. So a little shot there. Yeah, they buy everything. They don't invent too much. Here's one that's going to make you really say, huh. And I'm just, for those of you watching, I'm going to bring the chart up. It's a chart that shows rebound in sales. Well, what has rebounded in sales in 2021, say me? CDs. CD sales rose for the first time in almost 2 decades, joining a decade-long resurgence in vinyl. Why are people buying CDs again? Although CD sales are far from their 2000 peak, when almost 1 billion CD albums were shipped, the increase is another key element of the resurgence of physical music. Vinyl sales have been steadily increasing for over a decade and now half and hit 39.7 million units in 2021, bringing $1 billion in revenue. So people like their media. They're renting it, but they do like their media. It's interesting. Yes, it is indeed. Don't you think so? I think so. Google's hijacked millions of customers and orders from restaurants and lawsuits. Oh, I already covered this the other day. Excuse me. We don't need to cover that again. Yeah, I had a few of these that I loaded by mistake. T-Mobile home internet heads to Metro stores. T-Mobile's broadband alternative can now be had by Metro customers if you have it available in your area. That's not in mine. Also, Google Assistant will let you pay for parking with voice commands. The service is tied to the Park mobile app and will let you pay for, check on, or extend your parking remotely. Of course, that you have to be in a city that has this. Apparently, there's about 400 cities that are out there doing this. I have a really so last week sometime, President Biden called for more research on developing a national digital currency and more regulatory oversight over crypto. And the U.S. is attempting to catch up with the efforts of other nations already piloting their central bank digital currencies. And we're very far behind China and others in creating a national digital currency. I think that having a national digital currency is a bad thing. There's more than one reason for me to go into why I think it's bad. But they want the Federal Reserve to come up with a coin. The Federal Reserve, by the way, is a company. It is not part of the U.S. government. So it's a very interesting time for crypto right now. You can donate to this show on certain Podcast 2.0 apps, sending me Bitcoin or Satoshis. which is 1/1,000,000th of a Bitcoin. And some of you are doing that, and I appreciate it. I've actually set up an Umbrel node. If you know what that means, and you've got a clue what I just said, I'd like to hear from you. Because finding my way running this Umbrel, Umbrel, has proved to be interesting. And sometimes I feel like I'm flailing and not knowing exactly what I'm doing. But love to talk to someone that is heavily into crypto and understands this stuff. Okay, that's going to bring me to the end of the podcast. I don't think there was any emails that come in. Let me double check real quick here. I am a little bit behind on maybe here. Oh, I got an email from Gary. And it was a Navy Times article about a destroyer that could not... Oh, come on. I got to turn my ad blocker off or refresh the page. A destroyer can't deploy because the CEO won't get the COVID vaccine. It's an ongoing legal battle over whether the military can force troops to get vaccinated. It's a standoff the brass are calling a manifest national security concern. So the issue stems from a lawsuit filed in U.S. District Court for the Middle District of Florida, alleging service members' rights are being infringed upon by COVID vaccine mandates because their religious beliefs prevent them from taking the vaccine. So it is an interesting move. The Navy has 68 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, 24 of which are based in Norfolk. And apparently one of the COs said, no, I'm not taking the jab. Surprised he hasn't been relieved from duty yet. Maybe they did relieve him. But anyway, here's the thing. When I was active duty, no one questioned getting a jab. The only one I didn't like was the anthrax series. I'll be honest with you. That's the only one that made me leery. But here I am with 5 anthrax shots in me. So it's an interesting thing. I never saw anybody refuse. Now, I saw some people avoid getting the flu shot before. That was they didn't really enforce that too hard. They wanted everybody to take the flu shot, but not everybody did. And if you end up on some list, they really didn't hammer too hard. This is a whole different deal. And of course, when I went in the Navy, I got shot full of everything. You know, my they had guns that they were, I think my shoulder's still sore from. But thanks for sending that over. Again, your body and soul is essentially the property of the U.S. government. So I don't know if he has much of an option. And if he doesn't, and he's been ordered to, then he's, stand by to be relieved and kicked out. It's just the way it is. You sign on the dotted line. As my boot camp guy said, you can give your soul to God, but your ass belongs to me. That's what he basically, And that was true when we were in boot camp. But anyway, long story short, hey, thanks everybody for being here. geeknews@gmail.com. geeknews@gmail.com. We've been getting some submissions for the contest for the backdrops. Got about a month away before we're going to announce that. So if you want to submit a backdrop for the studio here, 1080, 16 by 9, 1920 by 1080, some sort of, some new images I'm trying to point here, for the backdrops, for the monitors behind me, let me know, or submit them, geeknews@gmail.com. All right, everybody, going to get off here. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being patient. Thanks for letting me expand a little bit today on what's happening with my company and all the stuff going on there. We appreciate it when you give a like, give a share, tell people about this show. Becoming an insider at geeknewscentral.com/insider. Your $2, $5, $10, $15, $20, or $25 monthly donations are greatly appreciated. And we are now on the countdown to get to 1600. So it seems like it's taken forever this time around. But 2 shows this week here. No shows next week because I'm going to be in Los Angeles. So we'll keep the march going. But everyone, thanks for being here. Thanks for being part of the family. Thanks for watching or listening to the show. Stay subscribed or followed to the podcast. We'll see you next time. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.